Hello everybody, my name is Sandra B. Zaka. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I have not done any videos for a very long time. I started this video I think a year and a half ago, and I had promised that I would release a video weekly, and then life happened to me. So I would like to apologize to all of you for breaking my promise. However, I am back, and before we get into it, I really would like to reach 100 subscribers. So if you like this video and you like the content and the quality of the content, please like and share with your friends and your family. It would really be great, and I would appreciate your support in this. So thank you. Today, we will be talking about, can a marriage survive infidelity? It's such a big topic, I know, but I decided to go big or go home. So please join me as we unpack this topic. So a lot of people often ask me in my work as a mindset strategist. I have worked with clients who are going through infidelity, and those who have survived their marriage, has survived infidelity, and the ones that have walked away from their marriage. Often people ask me, can a marriage survive infidelity? I say yes and no, and I'm going to tell you why. But before we even get into it, I would like to read the scripture. I'm a born-again Christian, so my view of marriage is based on what the Bible says. And you may or may not agree with this, but that's okay. I'm quite happy for people to disagree with me and have a civil, informational dialogue about our views. So I'm going to read the scripture. It says, Proverbs 6:32. It says, he who commits adultery lacks sense. He who does it destroys himself. And Proverbs 6 verse 27 says, can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burnt? Men, that also stands for men and women. It's not just men as the male figure, but men and women. That's the first disclaimer, that I'm a born-again Christian. The second disclaimer is, I would like to say that I personally, in my marriage, I have not experienced, by the grace of God, the effect of infidelity. We have not had infidelity in our marriage, and I pray it stays like that, because I've seen the destruction that it can cause in both people when it happens in a marriage. So having said that, let's get into it. So what happens when infidelity arrives at your door? You're busy minding your life, your business, living your best life, and then boom, this thing happens to your life. The first thing I want to say is that when infidelity happens, whether to you, whether you're a man or woman, I want to say that it's not because of who you are that the person committed adultery. It's not because there's something wrong with you, that you're not beautiful enough, you're not good enough. It's not because of who you are. And I find that most people, when they are faced with this, they begin to question their sense of being, the essence of who they are, based on somebody else's behavior. You cannot do that, because you could be the most beautiful woman. We've all seen it. Some of the most beautiful people on the planet have been cheated on. So it doesn't matter. You could be the most amazing husband, the most amazing wife, and your partner still chooses to cheat on you. It says nothing about who you are. Okay. Number two, why does it happen? People are selfish. People are selfish. If you are selfish, it's all about you in your marriage, and me, myself and I, you will choose again, because adultery is never thinking about everybody else, it's about yourself. Also, maybe your partner has a sexual addiction that they cannot control, and that is a genuine disease, a sexual addiction where they just can't control themselves. Obviously, they also lack self-control. When you lack self-control, that's why you cannot walk away from a sexual relationship outside of your marriage. And then I often laugh when people say, I fell into, adultery. It's not like you're walking and bam, you stumble into it. It's a series of little things that happen that leads you to commit adultery against your spouse. So when infidelity happens, it breaks the very core, the foundation of marriage, because marriage is built on trust. Marriage is built on integrity and sincerity. And when those things are broken, it's really hard to begin to rebuild, because how do you even trust this person? Do you even know this person that you've been married to? Because you begin to wonder, what else have they lied about if they could commit such a big sin? And we always think that adultery is the biggest sin someone can commit. It is and it isn't, because sin is sin. It doesn't matter what the person is doing if they've done something wrong. And adultery is often highlighted because of how devastating it is. But so is addiction, so is alcoholism or gambling or pornography. It's all severe. It's all heartbreaking because it shakes the foundation of the marriage. It brings disunity within the marriage. And I firmly believe there are some people that are born cheaters. And there's some people that it's a once-off thing and they're deeply remorseful and they never do it again. And there's some people that are just habitual cheaters, and you can't work with those. Unfortunately, they are who they are until they decide to change. You cannot change them. So that's very hard. The one thing I want to make very clear from the beginning is that you cannot change someone. You are not responsible for anybody's healing. You cannot, whether it's addiction, whether it's, alcoholism, gambling, pornography, just all sorts of things that literally break a marriage down. Unless the person who's committing those things is willing to change, you cannot do anything about that. So an affair happens, what do you do now? How do you survive it? What are the components that make some people survive it and some people not survive it? Let's get into it. I've got my notes, everything written down. Rule number 1, when adultery arrives at your door, do not tell your mother. Don't tell her, because when you tell your mom and you decide to reconcile with your spouse, she will never forgive them. She's your mom. She will never ever forgive them. So don't do it. Do not tell your mom. Find somebody else that will be able to forgive your husband, but don't tell your mother. Number 2, speak to a trusted friend. Someone that will get on their knees and pray for you and for your family, not someone that will go behind your back and tell everybody your business. My favorite is the holy grapevine. I call it the holy grapevine. Is when people in church, oh, do you know Tandy and George are having problems? Maybe you should pray for them. No, that's gossip. It's not pray. If you want to pray for them, get on your knees and pray for them. Avoid the people that are part of the holy grapevine that will go tell all your business to everybody. You want genuine people that will pray for you and will fight for you and stand with you for your husband. They are fighting for you as an entity, not to try and break you until you make a decision. Which brings me to point number 3. Do not be in a rush to make permanent decisions. Because when an affair happens, you're in so much shock. Like the shock, the trauma, the anger, the resentment, the everything. Do not rush into making decisions until you have had time to process everything. Number 4 is give each other space. If you need your spouse to move out for a little while, like a child separation, just so you can process things more or better without the person being in your space, make time for that. I wrote here, create a circle of fire and protection around yourself. Around you, if you have children, it's even more devastating. Don't tell your children whatever you do. Same thing with your mom. Don't tell your children. They are too young anyway. It's too traumatizing. And no matter what happens, that parent, whether it's the woman or the man, it's still their mom and it's still their dad. That is between the two of you. Do not tell your children. It is too devastating. Trust me on this one. Don't tell your children. In fact, in as much as you can, try and shield and protect them from the conflict that is happening between the two of you until you have made a decision. Number 5, in order to deal with infidelity, it's important to do a fact-finding mission. Ask all the questions you need and want. But I must warn you, in doing that, you will find out more things that are going to cause you more pain, because truth is never easy to hear. But in order to get to a solution, in order to heal your marriage, in order to begin to rebuild trust, in order to begin to move forward, you need to find out the whole truth. the whole truth, nothing hidden. And you need to be prepared to hear things that you don't want to hear. It's very painful. And I've seen in my clients where they say, I think the affair happened because of me. I just want to add to that, nobody cheats because of you. You may have contributed in your actions, but the decision is still theirs and theirs alone. So when someone decides to do something, it's not your responsibility, it's their responsibility, right? So what you do is that you begin to take responsibility for the role that you play and deal with that. If that is 5%, you deal with the 5% and move forward. But you cannot take responsibility for your spouse cheating. Number 7, I think, which is always so difficult, is accepting that the marriage you had no longer exists. That the marriage that you had before finding out, it doesn't exist anymore. And you need to allow the time and the space to grieve that. It's very difficult. It is heartbreaking. It is devastating. It is traumatic. It is earth-shattering. You feel like the very foundation of who you are and everything you've built on has been broken, because it has been broken. And you need to be okay to let it go. And if you want your marriage to work, you're going to actually need to rebuild a new marriage. You're going to have to start from scratch, because trust will have to be rebuilt brick by brick, layer by layer. And this is a lifetime. It's not like, give yourself patience in order to do that. Another thing is that in order to rebuild trust, you have to be brutally honest and be patient with each other. Be patient with the spouse that has committed the adultery, and be patient with yourself. And also extend grace. Think about it. If the situation was reversed, if you're the one who had committed the adultery, how would you want to be treated? My favorite thing is love your neighbor as you love yourself. How would you want to be treated in that moment? And I know it's a lot to ask when this person has broken everything that you have both worked on, but think about it. Like, how would you want to be treated if you were the one who had committed the adultery, right? Another thing we have to do is to emotionally take care of ourselves. What do I mean by that? Is allow yourself the space and the time to process every emotion. Don't judge your emotions. If you're angry, be angry. Anger in itself is not a bad thing. It's what you choose to do with that anger that becomes the problem. So be angry, be upset, deal with it, sit with it, mull over it. If you are a praying woman, pray and ask Jesus to come and reveal himself to you and begin to bring healing into your heart and into your marriage, into the heart of your husband. But sit with your emotions. You cannot push things under the carpet. They will come back. Trust me, bitterness, you cannot push it under the rug. Anger, you cannot push it under the rug. It comes back, and it comes back with a vengeance if you don't deal with it, because it becomes destructive for everybody, actually. So that's the one thing. Take care of yourself emotionally. Allow yourself to feel all things. Number 10, I think I've said this already. Forgive yourself and forgive them. Not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. I tell you, my dad always used to say, unforgiveness is like taking poison, drinking it yourself, and hoping that the other person is going to die. That's what unforgiveness does to you. It destroys the very core of who you are. So if you can take anything out of this video today, is forgive the person that has sinned against you, because you deserve peace. Unforgiveness takes away the peace from your heart. Having said all this, you want full disclosure, you want information, you want space, you do not rush into making decisions. So how do you know when it's time to walk away? If you've done all these things, how do you know it's time to walk away and not work on saving your marriage? Well, number 1 is when the person that has committed the affair is not repentant. They're actually sorry because they got caught, not because what they realize and they acknowledge that what they have done is wrong. If they are not taking responsibility for it, they are not being forthcoming with information, they are blaming everybody else. They are blaming the other woman, they are blaming the job, they're blaming the stress, they are blaming everything and everybody under the sun, but not taking responsibility. Honey, you cannot work with that. There's nothing you can do with that, okay? Number 2, they refuse to get help. For example, if your spouse is a sex addict, but they refuse to get help, You can't do anything about that. Healing is such a personal responsibility thing. You are never ever responsible for healing somebody else. It's not your job. You're not God. Even a therapist or a psychologist, they cannot heal anybody until the person takes responsibility for their lives. So if this person chooses not to get help in order to begin to heal, there's nothing you can do. How do you rebuild trust with a sex addict? How do you rebuild trust with someone who's not willing to actually tell the whole truth? And they are not interested in doing the work. If they don't, that's my number 3. If they're not interested in doing the work, like going to couples counseling, like doing everything within their power to get the marriage to heal, that person is not for you, my love. Like, they are not for you. If they are not the ones coming up with suggestion of saying, hey, let's go to a therapist, let's do this, let's do that. If they are not willing, and if you personally are not willing to do the work, then walk away. If your heart of heart, you've decided, I cannot do this, I'm not willing to go through marriage counseling, I'm not willing to go get help, then there's nothing you can do if you're not willing to face the hard truth. Number 5, if they're not taking ownership, where, they accidentally forget the counseling appointment, just lack of ownership, right? You can't work with that. For me, this is always a deal breaker for my client. When they say, oh, my husband cheated and I forgive him, but he refuses to let go of the mistress or the person that he's been sleeping with. I'm like, okay, are you willing to be in a polygamous marriage? No. Then let them go. You cannot work with someone who's not willing to let go of something that keeps hurting you over and over again. You deserve better than that. You are a child of the living God. You are a child of the Most High God. Let go of the man that keeps hurting you. You know better. If he's not repented, is not willing to let go of the person, and he's breaking the covenant of marriage between you and him and between him and God. So let go. There's nothing you can do about that. I think that's all I have to say. The last thing I'm going to say is, if you're going to stay in peace. That means you don't remind them every second. Remember in 1985 when you had that affair, or in 2020 during lockdown when you had the affair. If you are going to stay, you deal with yourself, you do the work, you both do the work, and you let go and you build your marriage. If you're gonna stay. If you're gonna leave in peace. Forgive them, let go of the resentment, the bitterness, the disappointment, let go. So whatever you choose to do at the end of it, choose peace above all things. Choose peace. I hope this has been very helpful for you. And if you like my content, please again remember to share and to like and to subscribe. Until next time.